All right, my powerhouses, I wanted to share with you guys a conversation I had with a coaching client a little bit ago, and we were talking a lot about what he wanted to accomplish, how he could get there, really helping with the gap between his confidence of where it was, where it's come to, and he's made these significant strides where he no longer is feeling like he has to give this long explanation or defend himself if he says no or doesn't want to do something. And he's really opened up his eyes and horizons to recognizing how much more capable he is, but more importantly, the world in front of him and what he has the ability to achieve. And I'm sure there's been a moment of time or something that you can remember where you're like, holy shit, I am capable of this. I can do exactly that. Why was I holding myself back? Or why did I ever think I wasn't worthy of that? And he had asked me, he's like, Nicholle, like it's great to get the coaching and the advice and talk about me. But he's like, man, can you tell me what you do? Like, what have you done? What are some of the things that have helped you become successful, or the mindset that you have, or habits that you've formed? He's like, I would just love to live inside your brain for a second. And at first I was like, oof, man, I don't even know. And of course, when anybody asks me something about myself, I immediately brain freeze and I don't even know who I am. I don't know. And so it took me a little bit. And of course I had to answer the question. And so I did. And in thinking about it, there's been a lot of things that I think have probably attributed to the success that I have had so far to this point. But also things that over time I've recognized that weren't going to work, and I had better change fast if I wanted to keep moving forward in a way that was going to be manageable and not, basically just not kill me, right? So I've been very intentional over the years, and even in the moments of which I didn't realize I was, looking back, I was, because if there is anything that I can be super confident about, it is always the fact that I had this absolutely positive, headstrong mindset. Nothing could disrupt it, shake it, that no one could stand in front of my vision. There is no one who could tell me anything that was going to stop me from getting exactly what I wanted, because I saw it crystal clear, and I still do. And I have a lot of work to do, but even coming as far as I have over the last decade, it's been a really cool journey. That said, it's been ugly. It hasn't been this beautiful ride where you see these picturesque beachside stories where these entrepreneurs have their laptops in their lap and they're drinking a cocktail and they're like, oh my God, this is so great. I can work from anywhere. No, fuck that. It has been a grind and a half. I have had so many 100-hour weeks. I have had times when I have just bawled myself to sleep. I have wanted to quit. All of those things, because I also, happen to be a very slow learner. It took me a long time to even hire my first coach. And so now I've recognized all of that. And thankfully, with all of this chaos and craziness that I've experienced, it has also been beautiful from the perspective that I'm so grateful that I've learned from every single one of them. I have never forgotten a failure that I had or a mistake that I have made. And I hold those really tight to the vest because I don't want to do it twice. And what I am doing is so fulfilling to me. I am literally, and anybody who knows me knows this, I am obsessed with what I do. I love it. I don't really have many hobbies other than, maybe working out and hiking and stuff like that. But if I have free time, I'm probably working because I enjoy it. It's just part of what lights me up. And I am so profoundly thankful for that. And the clients who have trusted myself, our company with everything. And so, that aside, it's been crazy. And so here are some things that I just wanted to share with you. I thought perhaps maybe they'd be helpful. They're super simple. Hopefully you're already doing some of them, and maybe some of them you want to try out or practice or go back to the basics, right? Because sometimes we forget that. So the first is, and this is the most important, and this again is what I learned too late to the game. I guess not too late. It's never too late, but later than I wish, right? But when I'm hiring a coach or a service or education, I have stopped debating the price and getting focused on what will it cost me. But instead, I've started to practice the question, what will it cost me if I don't do it? So that has been a huge shift in thinking. The price doesn't matter if the value and the results get you 10x what you paid, but you have to have this faith in yourself and knowing that no matter what, you're going to not only learn that education or take that advice, you have to take action on it and implement it. And that I am really good at doing. And so for me, anytime I'm presented with a opportunity or an event to go to, I, number one, ask, does this align with what I want to achieve next? Will it amplify what I'm currently working on or the value that I provide to my clients? And despite the price, how much will it cost me by not doing it? So what opportunities may I be missing out on, or what lessons may I not be learning? Or are they going to coach me and teach me shortcuts by what they've accomplished and learned over the years in growing their business? Are they an entrepreneur that is in a business where I'd like to grow mine too? So I always think that first. And I think it is so important to ask yourself the same thing. We hold ourselves back so much because we just don't have the conviction in knowing that will make it work. And lately, I have seen that a lot. I have seen so many women say no to things that they deserve to say yes to, or they need, quite frankly, to say yes to, and they don't. They chicken out, or they say that they can't, or they're too busy, or they can't afford it, or they're afraid of the commitment when, honestly, if it is part of something that is going to get you closer to what you want, it is 1000% worth it. You need to make that a priority. We make so many excuses subconsciously and not recognizing that, and you never want to be that someday person or that one day or that later. That is so tragic. Life is short. It is remarkably shorter than what we all want to believe. And so if there is something you want to do, freaking do it. All right. Next, I ask for what I want, even if it might feel uncomfortable. Again, this has took me years to develop a muscle that I try to exercise regularly. But if I want something, I ask for it, period. I might not hear yes, but I've got nothing to lose to ask. So that is something that I have started to do. And I even ask now, and I try to not even pause before asking so I can't talk myself out of it, and I just speak up. The next is I have habits, rituals, routines that I practice every single day, even when I am traveling. They are non-negotiable. When I travel, I will also make sure I know where the nearest grocery store is, or I'll pack my protein bars that I have every day, or collagen supplements that I take. I am very, very routine driven. It makes me feel my best. And so when I travel, I don't want to disrupt that as much as I can. And so for me, every single morning, I always make sure I have a healthy, nutritious breakfast. I make sure I have enough protein in fruit. So if I am going to be traveling, I make sure that I have those things either packed with me or I can get them. I'll make sure I call ahead or map things out, because the worst for me is to not have a great breakfast and then feel like crap the rest of the day. That wastes time, and it wastes the most valuable experience while you're there, while you're traveling. I walk every day. I have been walking, and I've walked every day for the last 7 years of my life. And while I am walking, I listen to something. I listen to a book or a podcast, something that is going to get my juices flowing, or it is maybe motivational or positive. And so even if I only have 10, 20 minutes, it doesn't matter. I walk every single day. It is part of what makes me feel good, movement in my body. So traveling, that's again, it's really important. If I can, I pick a place that has a good gym. I'll pay a little bit more per night. If it looks like that their fitness facility has more equipment, or it's a little bit nicer, or it is in an area of which is more walkable. So that is another thing that I do. Those two things are non-negotiable every single day. Whether I'm here traveling, doesn't matter. And then when I'm home, I have a totally different routine. You guys know about that. I've done other podcasts on it, but every day is critical and no one can disrupt that. Next is I take care of my health. And so this is really in line with that, right? I take care of my health and I eat well, I stay fit, because if I don't, I would never be able to maintain my pace and capacity that I do right now at my high energy levels. So I owe me to eat well, to make sure that I'm getting proper nutrition, that I'm not putting garbage into my body, and that I'm staying fit. I am working out, I am stretching, I am hiring pros to help me when I'm feeling like I'm hitting a plateau or I'm getting stuck. Because if I am not doing these things, I cannot serve my clients well. And so every single year, it's always my goal to be in the best shape of my life. Every single year. And I have done that every single year, actually, which is kind of a cool thing to say for a very long time. I've never felt as good as I feel now. I've never been as strong as I am now. And that trade-off is I can run at the same pace that a 20-year-old could run at. And to me, that's really important. I want to feel good. Longevity is important to me. One of the things that I did this year as a little gift to myself is I bought an infrared sauna. So I've been sitting in that daily to help with inflammation. And there's so many other benefits to that. So that is something I'm always looking for, a way where I can level up and maintain my health. And I put rules around that too. So there are certain things that I just will not eat and haven't eaten in decades. And for me to have those hard rules, it's easier to make it a lifestyle. So do I still bend and have a delicious food maybe that's not exactly part of my normal diet? Of course, everything within moderation. However, I can promise you it will never be fried food. I haven't had fried food in decades. It was just one of those easy things to cut out. I will never eat white flour, gluten, anything like that. And I'll never eat white sugar. So those few things I have cut out of my diet completely. And so it's just an easy, hard rule. So do I eat chocolate? Absolutely. Do I have too much peanut butter? Probably. However, it doesn't have those 3 ingredients in it. And that just makes it easier for me. So the next is I surround myself with the right people and remove myself from the wrong people. Again, this was hard to do, especially when I was younger and I was going through those seasons of needing to learn how to even release people from my life, because I just had so much guilt around making everybody happy all the time. I started to ask myself this question, did they do that for me? Are they going to be in my life in 10 years? Is this going to matter? And it was easier to drop the people that the answer was probably not. Their life is in a way different direction and trajectory than mine. So I wanted to make sure that my core group, although be it small, is mighty. Quality over quantity. And then I also started to really turn inward and pay attention to when I'm hanging out with people. Are they radiating me? Are they giving me energy? Am I loving and enjoying my time with them? Or does it feel heavy? Do they make me feel poorly about myself, or do they drain my energy? And so I'm very, very hyper aware of that now and pay attention to it and remove those people who feel toxic. And I add the ones that feel like light. So very important. And I constantly, this is another thing that I do now, put myself in rooms that intimidate me. If I'm the dumbest person in the room, I am in the right space. And I struggle with imposter syndrome a lot. I've been practicing to get over it, but at the end of the day, it is a thing. It's real for me. And so it's not easy to be in a room that I'm intimidated by. However, I make a conscious effort to always seek them out, because when I do, I am always inspired by someone. I find someone that I admire. I have a really interesting conversation. It just stretches my rubber band a little bit. So the next is I am always learning. Doesn't matter how busy my life feels or how much I have going on. I have always practiced the mentality that I must be an active student of the game and practicing humility. I know I will never know it all, and there's always more to know. And so there will never be a moment where I am not reading something new, learning something, enrolled in a course, getting another designation. For me, that is mission critical, and I never want to stop. To me, I can't stop. It's not an option. Another thing that I have done is I always try to think of how I can better my best. So it is very uncomfortable for me to actually be comfortable. So I'm constantly looking at metrics and what I've done over the last quarter and what do I want to do next quarter. And sometimes it's not super complicated, you guys, but it's really more simple in terms of saying, how have I felt? What are some little tweaks that I can make? What is something that might improve my life? Is there a relationship that I could really put a little bit more effort toward that I've been neglecting lately? From the big things to the little things, I'm always looking at how I can better my best. The next, I find the lesson in every failure and I never forget. I said that earlier when I was starting this podcast and talking about that, but truly, I mean, and I am someone who will dwell on something forever and replay it in my head, like the video on rewind. And so when I fail, I feel it, but then I internalize it. And then what I do is I try to break it down into these little bitty components to say, okay, what went wrong? What could I do differently? And what is the lesson to learn here? And then I move on, right? Can't change it. It is something that I know I'm going to do again in the future. So if you can learn from it, it's worth it. Another, I do not make excuses, period. And if I know I'm going to make an excuse, I tell somebody that I need or want to do something so they hold me accountable. So there are no excuses. I have set up my life so that way I don't have room for them. Even as much as, again, fitness routine. I've got a gym at my house. I have 3 gym memberships. I have gym equipment at the office. So if I am quote unquote too busy or meetings run over or my life is just bleeding all over the place, I've got it everywhere. So there's no excuse to not fit in 20 minutes. Because if I don't, I will also be a raging bitch. So I set my life up and I have things done in a way so that where I know I am not disciplined, there's a plan B to make sure that I do the thing. And I also ask the hard questions. So if I'm feeling myself making an excuse about something or wanting to, I ask why, and dig in about that a little bit. Why am I making an excuse about this? Is it because I'm anxious about going because I'm not going to know anybody? Or is it because I'm exhausted? Sometimes we also need to listen to our body. But that is a practice that I've done for years and it works really well. One of my newer practices is I take clarity breaks. So literally time in my calendar to think. I know it sounds crazy, but it is so important. And I need time where I am not surrounded by technology. And that is part of my walks. Actually, I know that's kind of a contradiction because I'm listening to something, but what I mean is I'm not actively engaging in something. Where when I'm moving my body, it gives me so much clarity in that space and time where I'm not talking to anybody else. I can just be in my head and my thoughts and think about maybe the day or the week. But more importantly, I'm typically thinking about what's next. And then last and my favorite is if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And for me, that just makes my yeses and my nos so much easier. Hell yes means absolutely 100%. This is something I want to do. I know it fits, or it's a no, period. And when you say that, you don't have to follow up with a reason. A no is fine. Done and done. So those are some things that I've, as I looked back, have definitely attributed to the success that I've seen so far, but have also allowed me to do the things that I do, to keep the schedule that I do, to take on the amount of work and activities that I'm constantly participating in. So hopefully some of these tips were helpful for you. And until next time, my Powherhouse family, continue to be courageous.